Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the second stimulus check, stimulus proposal, and why it's taking so long for it to pass. Why is it taking so long for the Senate to come to a consensus, to an agreement, get it passed, and get this moved over to the House so that it can be passed? One thing that we should mention right now are the key dates, and it looks like we already missed one because the House is technically supposed to be on recess right now, which began on August 3rd, yesterday. They're not even supposed to be on Capitol Hill right now, but we know that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are still on Capitol Hill. So once negotiations are still happening with Nancy Pelosi, it seems that things are still somewhat moving forward, but not really moving forward because there hasn't been any real movement on the stimulus check or the stimulus proposal. And it's quite sad. So why is this happening? I have a video for you all, and I am going to let it roll right now so that you all can get a picture of what's happening during the negotiations. This is from Senator John Thune, and he's exactly stating what's happening right now. And I do realize that he is a Republican, but I'm hoping that he isn't being political with his response. And of course, this was a Republican press conference too. So I do hope that he wasn't being political with his response, but it doesn't seem like he was. So let's go into the video and see exactly what he stated about what's actually happening right now in Congress.
Several weeks ago, the House Democrats passed their $3.5 trillion HEROES Act, which at the time it was suggested, and not just by us, but by lots of other folks, that it wasn't a serious effort. In fact, the New York Times, the Democrat leader's paper of record, came out and said this is a messaging bill, it's not a viable piece of legislation. And so ever since that time, we have been looking at what we've done already, making an assessment about what's working and what's not working, and getting feedback about that, and came up with, I think, a very targeted, fiscally responsible approach to dealing with the crisis that we're now in. And started to, in good faith, suggest to Democrats that it's time to start negotiating the next phase of the relief bill. They responded, passed the HEROES Act. So Mnuchin and Meadows have been trying to sit down with them and come up to, again, a reasonable, common sense solution to moving us forward in dealing with this crisis. And their response has basically been pass the HEROES Act. And so last week, Ron Johnson came up with an idea to extend the unemployment benefit and make sure that those who are still unemployed, and there are a lot of them in this country, continue to receive a plussed-up benefit, not to the extent that it currently was. And the Democrat response was pass the HEROES Act. And so Martha McSally came up with a one-week extension of the existing $600 bonus, unemployment bonus. And the Democrats' response was pass the HEROES Act. And I think it's pretty clear, should be clear to the Democrats, we are not going to pass the HEROES Act. It is not a serious piece of legislation. But we think that there is common ground that we can find. If they are serious about sitting down and coming up with the next phase of coronavirus relief, and it is targeted, it is fiscally responsible, and it does address the needs that are out there among the American people when it comes to their health care, schools reopening, getting people back to work, creating jobs. We hope that they will get serious about it. Republicans are. We want to get a deal. We hope that Democrats will give up on this futile idea of trying to pass the HEROES Act and actually sit down in good faith and try and negotiate a real solution.
I'd like to highlight just a couple things that Senator Thune stated in his address right there during that press conference. One is that the HEROES Act is not a serious effort. And this is what he's stating. And as we listen to his address, he stated that the Democrats are combating everything that was proposed to extend the unemployment benefit with pass the HEROES Act. And he's stating this is not a serious effort. In fact, he even went and quoted the New York Times where they stated that it is not a viable piece of legislation. However, the Democrats are still pushing the HEROES Act. Mainly, the headlines are saying that that's what Nancy Pelosi is pushing. So What's happening now is what's supposed to be a negotiation to try to get to some common ground. That common ground appears to not be able to be achieved because anything that's being presented as an option is well, let's pass the HEROES Act. And as we know, the HEROES Act was approximately 3.4 or 3.5, depending on which source you read or listen to, $1 trillion proposal. 3.4 or 3.5 trillion dollar proposal. And they're pushing to pass this. Now think about it. The Republicans themselves in the Senate, they don't even have consensus on passing the HEALS Act, which is approximately $1 trillion package. They already don't have consensus on that, and the Democrats are pushing for the $3 trillion package, which is it's actually more than three times the cost of the HEALS Act. So clearly, with that, things aren't going to move forward. Things are not going to move forward if this is what they are pushing. And if this was to go up for a vote in the Senate, I'm not sure that it will pass. Well, it wouldn't pass, to be honest. It definitely would not pass. So there has to be some sort of actual negotiations and compromise happening so that we can get a bill that we can finally get some sort of bipartisan agreement upon. Now, we do know that both bills do include a stimulus check valued $1,200, so there are no worries about that. That will come and it'll be coming to you all. The question is, when? When is this actually going to happen? And is it worth it playing hardball right now? That I'm not sure. Now let's talk about what is one of the biggest issues that they are negotiating and debating and cannot seem to reach a common ground on, and that is unemployment benefits. And during this exact same press conference, Mitch McConnell, which is the majority leader of the Senate, stated, at least he answered the question, and I think he answered it pretty well. And it seemed like he didn't try to put up a smoke screen. So the reporter basically asked Mitch McConnell, what does he believe is the consensus on which the Republican Senate can come to an agreement on when it comes to an unemployment benefit, and how long should that benefit be paid? So what should be the duration of that? And he said, I believe that I've made it very clear that we are not going to have consensus on this. And he was straight up and honest about it, that consensus will not be made because there are Republicans stating that this is a disincentive and this is pushing the country further into debt. So this isn't something that we should continue. So they're trying to work on something to reduce how much the federal government is actually boosting or paying into the unemployment benefit so that there can be some more agreement happening. But as we stated, as shown with Senator Thune, the Democrats aren't willing to budge. At least Nancy Pelosi, she's not willing to budge. She's playing hardball. So things are moving forward. I think at this point, it would be better to get something realistic, because I will say I did not agree with the $200 per week boost. I did not. I don't think that's enough. I think that's unrealistic, especially like I mentioned in one of my previous videos, especially in my area where that couldn't even cover rent. That's it. Like, it would be extremely tough on someone who lost their job. It couldn't cover rent in my area with the $200. So I completely agree with not going with that option. But it's going to be interesting. Final piece of news that I would like to share with you all is that it seems that President Trump is beginning to become frustrated with this whole process and the whole standstill and what's happening between what's going on right now in Congress with nothing moving forward. So President Trump has stated that he's basically looking at executive orders, what he can do with those to pass the moratorium on or extend the moratorium on evictions, because he wants to make sure that that does not happen. And another thing he's looking at is, of course, the payroll tax cut. So if he can work his way around Congress to get that passed, he's going to do that as well. And we also know that the unemployment benefit is also one of his top priorities as well, at least the White House priorities. So we will see. finally, final bit of information. I know this is quite a bit to throw at you all today because this is what's happening, and I think it's really good for you all to know what's happening. Senator Mitch McConnell basically stated the only way that he would support the $600 per week unemployment boost by the federal government is if the president were to get behind it, President Trump. Now, we know that President Trump has not stated any support for moving forward with that or extending that. And I honestly don't see that happening because President Trump, it's all about getting people to work as well. That's the Republican Party. That's what they like to do. So I don't see the whole $600 unemployment benefit being supported by President Trump either. But Mitch McConnell is stating, you know what, if Trump wants it, then we'll see if it happens. He's more willing to let it happen. So guys, this is your stimulus check update video for today. It's quite some information, and it's not all good information. I wish it was really, or I should say it's good info, but it's not positive information. I really wish that I could provide you all with positive information and state that this is moving forward, but it's not. And it seems to be becoming more of a political game, unfortunately, when it shouldn't be a political game. So Mitch McConnell did state that there's not a whole lot of movement. It's what he received from Mark Meadows and Steve Mnuchin with their negotiations with Nancy Pelosi. However, they do have a feeling that an outcome will begin to happen. So because there's an expression of faith, the Democrats do want to reach an outcome. So that's great. So it looks like step by step, we may finally get somewhere, hopefully. But anyway, guys, that's all of the updates that I have for you all. Again, it's not very positive, but it is what it is. And hopefully you all continue to support the channel and continue to subscribe, like the video, and comment down below. Make sure you drop a comment. I really do enjoy reading each and every one of your comments. Thank you all, and I will see you in the next video.